Yes, hi, hello. This is me, Viktor Vee. I'm editing this video right now, and I noticed that my energy is a little bit off in this video because I was about to get sick, as you might have known if you followed my community tab. But, you know, everything is fine, everything is good, but just be aware that for this video, my energy levels are a little bit off. Sorry. Everybody, welcome back to Music Theory Monday. Today, we're going to finally talk about some useful topics. We're talking about chords, and more specifically, we're talking about triads. It's chords composed of 3 notes. That was the shortest intro I've ever done. So, what is a chord? Well, a chord is simply more than one note playing at the same time. This, for example, is a C note. This is the C major chord. A C major triad specifically because it has 3 notes. Now that we've introduced the main topic of the night, however, let me pause for a second and introduce you to something completely different. Scale degrees. Scale degrees are number values we assign to notes based on their position in a scale. Simple as that. This is a C major scale. These are the scale degrees. Each of them has a name, and knowing these is really useful to communicate your intentions. You're going to find these terms a lot, so just learn them. So the first note in a scale is called a tonic. Tonic note, tonic chord, low tonic, high tonic, all of these mean that they have some sort of relationship to the first note in a scale. The second note is called a supertonic. The third one is the mediant, fourth one is a subdominant, fifth one is dominant, sixth one is submediant, seventh is a leading tone, and the eighth again is the tonic. Unless you are into music genres that are really technical like classical music or jazz, you will not find these namings too often, but you will find tonic, subdominant, dominant, and leading tone. The other 3 I don't think I've ever heard mentioned in a modern music scenario. So, considering our favorite C major scale, C is our tonic, G is our dominant, and A is our submediant. All things considered, you can still refer to notes by numbers rather than fancy names. Most of us do. But knowing this naming convention is useful to hold a conversation with other musicians. You'll be doing that a lot. Okay, triads time. And before we start, let me lay out a rule. Using chords is an art that takes time to master. What can be followed by what to achieve what results, how to properly write the progression, what is the emotion behind each chord, and like so on. I'm teaching this in a vacuum of space, however, given no context behind the usage of chords. That's how I always learn things and how I prefer to teach them. We're going to learn and see all the other things in a later video, so it makes no sense for me to just info dump everything on top of you right now. In my head, it just makes sense to teach you the most boring parts now, and the sooner we get through them, the happier both you and me are going to be. Let's take a look at the major triads then. A triad is a 3-note chord built in thirds. That's confusing, let's explain it. From now on, I'm going to refer to them as major chords to make it easier. So what does that definition mean though? Let's take a look at the previously mentioned C major chord. First interval is C to E, which is a major third. Next is E to G, which is a minor third. See how those intervals we talked about are coming in handy? If you haven't seen that video, it's time to. Top right corner of the screen. So yes, a major chord is formed by grabbing a root note, adding a major third, then a minor third, and you got yourself a major chord. Another way to look at it is by their intervallic relationship to the root. The root, again, is the start of your chord, or scale, or whatever. There is a root, there is a major third in relation to the root, and there's a perfect fifth in relation to the root. Another way to figure out a major chord is to take the major scale and pick the first, third, and fifth of the scale the root comes from. This means if you're looking for a G major chord, you take the G major scale, take the first, third, and fifth notes of it, and you form the major chord. The G major chord, of course. Now that you are familiar with the process of creating major chords, you can easily create minor ones as well. Guess what? It's super easy now. So if making a major chord is just grabbing your root, then adding a major interval and then a minor one, to create a minor chord, you switch those around. It's the root note, then a minor interval followed by the major one. And you're done. So a C minor chord, for example, is C, E flat, G. And here where it becomes even easier. Compare our major chord C, E, G to the minor one, C, E flat, G. And you'll see that the only difference is the middle note, the third from the root. This way, an easy way to get the minor chord, if you know the major one already, is to lower the third by a half step and you got yourself a minor chord. Or if you're feeling fancy, you can do the minor scale trick too. Pick the first, third, and fifth note from that one, and you got yourself a minor chord. But we're not limited to only major and minor chords. So we've taken a look at what happens when you add a major third and a minor third and a major third. It's only logical that there's 2 combinations left to cover. Well, 3, but for now, 2. Let's look at major third plus major third. So calculating from the root, this is the first time we're going to see a fifth that's not a perfect fifth, but instead a perfect fifth raised by a half step. By following this formula, we get to a C augmented triad, C, E, G sharp. It's quite literally just grab a major chord and raise the fifth by a half step. Finally, following a minor third interval with another minor third gets us what's called a diminished chord. In our C example, a C diminished chord would be C, E flat, G flat. You can also grab a minor chord and lower the fifth a half step to get there. Both augmented and diminished chords work well as transition notes, meaning you can use them as transition between the major and minor chords. The idea here is to subvert the expectation of your listener a little bit, to make your music a lot spicier. But there's one final type of triad. It's the suspended chord. That's a type of chord where the third is omitted and instead is replaced by a perfect fourth, C sus4, or major second, C sus2. So a sus4, for example, would be C F G, and a sus2 is C D G. The entire idea of the sus chords is to delay that resolution to the tonic. We're going to talk about that in the next video, next Monday. It's basically like dangling a carrot in front of your audience, just delaying that dopamine hit. And this about does it for triads. Most modern music can be composed with just triads, so get really good at building them. Next time we're seeing each other, we're going to talk about how to sequence one after another to make it sound good. Also, seventh chords are also quite popular, but I don't think it's time to talk about them just yet. We have other grounds to follow now. So get really good at differentiating different triad chord types, get good at building them, and grab yourself a cookie for sitting through another installment of Music Theory Mondays. I'm leaving you to record another episode of it, and I will see you soon. Actually, you know what? Homework time. If you're still watching the video, let me know in the comment section below what is a G diminished chord and a B sus2. And I will see you in the next video. My name is Viktor Vee, and I am out. And a little post-credit bonus. Thank you very much to Cesar Perez for supporting me on Patreon and making sure that this project continues to thrive and flourish. If you'd like to support me as well, my Patreon is on the screen right now. Thank you very much for anybody who does, and I will see you next time.